Hi everyone, Max here. I'm in Chicago today with Gene, Jordan, and Bob. And we are going to read William Carlos Williams' poem, Autumn. Autumn. A stand of people by an open grave underneath the heavy leaves celebrates the cut and fill for the new road where an old man on his knees reaps a basket full of matted grasses for his goats. This poem, I believe, is from 1937. It was first published in poetry. Where do we begin? What do we make of this poem?
Oh, it's really surprising the cut in different, it's almost like scene cuts of the same place with scene cuts of emotion. It's great. You go from a grave to celebration to a new road,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden an old man who's weeping.
So the stanza breaks are sort of shifting what we're seeing each time, right? Like these little
It's a jump.
a jump. I liked your cinematic metaphor. Like we're just we're moving between shots, right?
No, I was just, what struck me here is not so much that it's changing scenes or changing pictures. It's that it's the same picture that, and you see what you want to see, or you see what you're alert to. I mean, you've got a guy getting some food for his goats, and you have some other people standing by a grave. These people standing by the grave probably didn't even notice the guy with a basket trying to get some food for his goats. The fact, apparently they're there to celebrate this road being built, or I guess, and they don't even alert to the fact they're standing next to a grave. It just seems like it's a picture, sort of a collage kind of, more than separate frames, to me.
I like that. There's there's something that's kind of like painting, maybe Renaissance, or there's a kind of painting style, and I wish I knew more about art history because it would really help me right now, where you have this sort of depth of things going on, and I feel like you see this often in religious paintings where you have a depiction of Christ and you have all of these other people like doing things, and you get this whole, I don't know, like lepers and beggars and saints and apostles, and you just have this whole view of things, and not everybody seems to be aware of everybody else.
I don't know if you've ever seen the nativity thing that they put out at the Art Institute every year. They put out their really, really elaborate nativity scene with obviously the Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, being supposedly the center of attention, and then you've got all this other stuff going on, as you mentioned, people buying and selling things, and people eating a meal over here, and people, and it's just all this other stuff going on that doesn't seem to be part of the nativity.
Sure.
And that's the same thing here. I mean, you've got people standing by a grave. Oh, gee, they must be at a funeral. No, they're here to celebrate this new road. Oh, well then, everybody should be interested in this road. This guy collecting the food for his goats could care less about the road.
He has
And it's just all this various images just chucked together, which is the way life is,
Sure.
I mean, everything doesn't follow a theme. Everybody, things are oftentimes very, very different,
Gene, you talked about sort of emotional cuts, And that really leaps out to me in the beginning where we have the grave, this stanza that starts with grave underneath the heavy leaves, and then suddenly where it celebrates the cut and fill. And there's this jolt between what we would imagine to be the solemn scene of this open grave and then this scene of celebration that's in fact taking place. I don't know, what did people make of this open grave and the celebration taking place next to it? What kind of celebration is this?
Well, I mean, it's, maybe it's people who, have relatives or loved ones at this cemetery or whatever, and they've always had a hard time getting in and out, and now finally they built a road and these people are there and they're happy about it.
Sure, yeah.
And they kind of ignore the fact that apparently someone's going to be buried here pretty soon. This open grave, someone's going to bring a casket here and put it in this open grave, but they're here for something else, and the guy collecting the food for his goats doesn't care about either one of those things, the road or the grave. He's just worried about getting some stuff for his goats.
Yeah, it seems like things will move on regardless. So there's this open grave that no one is presumably paying attention to, but a road is being built. That's progress, that's forward motion.
Yeah.
And what makes me kind of anxious about the old man is, so he's old, and so if we're talking about new things, then this is in contrast to the new road. This old man, and I for some reason I'm feeling like he's in the way of this road, and that makes me a little bit nervous for him, right? Because will he still be able to reap his matted grasses for his goats once this road's there? What changes is that going to bring? Is the road literally going to be over him? So I'm nervous for that, dude.
And that makes that open grave that much more ominous too, right? Like, it's a little, who, as you said, Bob, who is this grave for? And it seems, we have then this scene of this gentleman who, as you point out, Jordan, doesn't seem to be keeping up with the times, right? Or his way of life seems to be under threat, potentially, by what will soon be a new road going through the pasture or wherever he goes to. He's a rural person, right? He's a farmer or a rancher, or I don't know.
Goat herder.
A goat herder, thank you. I knew there was a specific word. A goat herd.
And it's autumn, so it's the decline.
Of course, yeah.
Could the grave and the cut and fill be the same thing? I don't know what a cut and fill is, but I assume when you start a new road, it's just a trench, right? Like a cut. And then someone might read it as a grave. It could be the same trench. It could be a grave, or it could be the beginning of a new road, which anytime you have a new road, there's a lot of work that goes into it. Everyone's happy, you're doing new infrastructure, the town's probably gone through a lot of zoning, whatever, to kind of get it ready. So some people might look at it. However, people are also unhappy about a road. If you live there and then all of a sudden you get traffic and it's a big pain, it's a grave. It's the end of life as it is for that old man, for the goat herder, but it's also something a lot of other people are going to celebrate, be happy about.
Yeah, there's a lot of visual symmetry between digging a grave and digging the place the road will be. Like, that could look very similar.
Could be the same.
Yeah.
So cut and fill is it's a method of moving earth in order to create a place for a road or a railroad. You usually, I just read about this, you usually dig out where the road is going to go, and then instead of having, because then you have earth, you have dirt you've dug up, you just use that to build embankments on the side. And so that's what a cut and fill is called. So you cut the earth and you fill it on the sides.
Looks like a graveyard.
Yeah, it sounds like digging a grave.
Yeah, there's definitely, there's absolutely a resonance between the grave and the road. The cutting open the land for something, for some purpose. I also just love that term cut and fill.
Yeah.
It seems to be so, in addition to being a technical construction term, it seems to be doing a lot in this poem, and I don't yet know how to think about this, but I want to imagine this, there's this similarity between what the poem is doing and this cut and fill action, and I don't yet know what it is. And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I see that a little bit in the way that the lines are presented, where we have these, we have these lines that are kind of cut into, in a way, a stand of people by an open, break, grave underneath the heavy leaves, celebrates, cut, the cut and fill. I don't know. There's something there. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong.
One thing that's curious to me is that the celebration is the cut and fill for the road. It's not necessarily the celebration for the new road. So it's celebrating the action of the cut and fill and what that represents.
Right.
But it's specifically tied to the action of the cut and fill.
Sure.
The first line, how many people are we talking? What is a stand of people? I mean, we talk about a stand of trees, right?
Yep.
What is a stand of people? Why not a group of people, or a crowd of people, or a bunch of people? Why a stand of people?
That's a good question.
It's like it's making a metaphor without technically making a metaphor,
Yeah.
because we all want to assume trees.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagined them all in a row, like a stand of trees, maybe a dozen, but it's very ambiguous, and I think it is meant to compare the people to trees,
Mm-hmm.
which fits with the autumn theme, but I don't really know actually where to go with that.
And so when you think of a stand of trees, it's a stand of trees because it is standalone, right? It's not a forest of trees. There's a small number of trees in a certain spot. So it's typically by some open space, like an open
Right.
field. So you want to read this as like a stand of people by an open field or open space, but it's an
Right.
open grave, which just flips
Ooh,
that
yeah.
again.
It's a good reading of that line break by an open. Great, yeah. But I liked what you were saying earlier, Jordan, about your observation about the fact that they're celebrating not the road. This is not a ribbon cutting for a new road. They're celebrating the cut and fill, which is truly probably the earliest stages of building infrastructure, right? That just must be the first thing you do.
Like an open grave. I mean, it's not.
Right.
It's not the final product.
That's excellent, Bob. Yeah, no, totally. Just like the open grave, that there's this, we're preparing the earth, and then something's gonna come here.
And it's the boring, repetitive part. Like when people line up to watch people dig a hole over the course of a road, like that seems like they should be there for the ribbon cutting ceremony or for like the initial breaking earth. But
Or for the funeral.
to watch, or for the funeral, right? But to sort of watch that iterative process of cut and fill seems strange. It's like a gathering activity.
It definitely does seem strange. I wonder, I don't want to bring in too much historical stuff, but I wonder if there is some historical basis for this. If you imagine people living in a more remote place in the 1930s, maybe one or two people in town has a car, more people are getting cars, and they're just super excited about the roads and modernity and cars. It's coming.
It's almost like these people have come here for this burial, and once they get to the open grave, they forget, hey, look at, they're building a road here.
Yeah.
Wow, hey, isn't that great? We're going to have a road come through
Yeah.
here. Hey, wait a minute, the guy's going to be buried here.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, it's a funeral where people are suddenly distracted by this intrusion of modern life, of city life, of automobiles and roads and connection.
And then it goes back to the guy it goes back the other way. Then.
Right, then the other guy grabbing together the grass and.
This might be going too far, but I wonder if the stand-up people are celebrating because they're working, because they're doing the cut and the fill, and that's giving them some sort of economic opportunity.
Since it's the Depression, 1937.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so they're
Depression.
doing the work with this infrastructure project that they know will then boost the town.
That's
As a way,
yeah.
celebrating is a way past the grave because they have some sort of means forward.
They could be construction workers working in government employment program.
WPA.
Yeah, the WPA. Yes, thank you. So this poem reminds me a bit of Williams's Red Wheelbarrow poem. In part because of the form or just the shape, the way it looks on the page. But I also think that I think that he's very much using a similar form as the Red Wheelbarrow poem intentionally. And the Red Wheelbarrow poem, of course, is so much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. I think that there's a similar development of the image happening here, even though it's very different at the end of the day. We begin with a stand of people by an open grave underneath the heavy leaves. We have the same development of the image line by line. Like we have this, and it's here, and it's under this. A bit like with the red wheelbarrow, where it's we have the red wheelbarrow, and there's this quality to it, and it's next to this. But I don't really know where else to take that comparison.
Well, I think during the video discussion, the red wheelbarrow, and they discussed, you guys discussed the wheelbarrow being a little bit more modern and the chickens being rural. You have that same dichotomy here.
Very good, yeah, absolutely.
And you've got the, what really strikes me now that Jordan said, a stand of people by an open, kind of then have a few lines, and then when it says for the new road, where? It's where does the new road go? It's almost starting over again to me in a similar kind of parallel. So, for the new road, where? An old man on his knees. It's kind of similar to a grave underneath the heavy leaves. It's a somber image. It's natural in its way. And then the third stanza celebrates the cut and fill. You get to reaps a basket full of, they're both positive. So there's kind of a parallel, but then you have that last stanza, which is different. Maddie Grass's words go.
Yeah, it just struck me now when thinking about it. I mean, it's sort of a real switch. I mean, if you say to someone, there's an open grave, okay, and there's an old man on his knees, oh, well, obviously he's praying for whoever's going to be there. No. He's an old man on his knees, he's getting grass from his grove. I mean, there's this contrast in the poem, and same thing at the beginning where you have the open grave and then you have the road, and now you have, the guy on his knees, and you would almost anticipate the next line is going to be praying for the soul of the person who's going to be buried, something like that. No, he's on his knees because he's getting grass from his goats. It's a real contrast there.
It's fun. It's like you are led to go down a road and then it's like switches it.
Yeah, and I think we're pointing to the way that that this poem is constantly hinging on moments of possibility. I think Jean, you brought us there with this great reading of the line break of open, but Jordan, you started that by an open, and then Jean, you continued with the new road where, the sense that the road is going somewhere, but we don't necessarily know where. And so the poem, and then Bob, as you were just saying, we have this old man on his knees, and you know we're starting to anticipate what he could be doing on his knees, and instead we get this other explanation. So the poem seems to be hinging always on these moments of possibility of like a stand of people by an open. What could it be, folks? And it turns out to be a grave.
And I love the For the New Road Where, because people are really excited by roads, but where is it going? You know, is this really, we're just building a road to build a road?
Presumably it's going to link them up to
Somewhere.
greater economic opportunities.
I think Max, it sort of helps to answer your question of like, how does the cut and fill, how is that demonstrated in the poem? And I think it's sort of hinging of like bringing yourself to something and then filling it, and then
Oh yeah.
like carving out something new and then filling it. So I think that.
Oh, that's so good. So the reading of the. Oh, I like that. Because that brings some sense to these cut or like what seem to be truncated lines, right? There's this cutting of the line, and then there's this mental filling in that we do. I like that. That's cool. Yeah. Huh. So the Red Wheelbarrow poem, which, as you pointed out, Jean, has there's this same tension in that poem between the human world of tools or the wheelbarrow, and then the natural world of just like white chickens. That also seems to be happening here too. The Red Wheelbarrow poem, the way that we discuss it, or have discussed it in ModPo, is it creates an image through this process of depending, of hanging one image on another. So much depends upon the red wheelbarrow. We kind of just like add things using this sort of archaic definition of to depend, which is to hang one thing on another. But I don't think that this poem is while it seems to have a similar effect, I don't know that it's quite doing the same sort of depending thing. And I think we've started to triangulate here with what we've been saying, what the exact motion or action of this poem is by talking about these line breaks, the way that we're expecting certain words or images to come next, and in fact we're getting very different ones, or as you said at the very beginning, Bob, the way that we have a bunch of people and things that don't seem to be paying attention to one another, and that doesn't seem like the same sort of nice depending motion that we get in that Red Wheelbarrow. That seems to be very different, almost like more distracted or something.
It's more like a pinball effect.
That we're kind of there's a lot to see here, and that we're like just like sort of turning in a circle or something instead of.
Right. I mean, are you here for the funeral? Are you here
for the
for
road?
the road? Or are you here to get some grass for your
Yeah.
goals? I mean, it's all the same scene, which is viewed from completely different